Welcome to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis, where every day I aim to bring you the latest UFO reports and other interesting stories. On Fridays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, my talk show, The Outlander, is where I'll answer your emails and take your phone calls and interview some of the most intriguing guests out there. Just go to irnchat.com to chat, interact, and listen to the live broadcast of The Outlander Show or find the archives on InceptionRadioNetwork.com. Today is Monday, January 8th, 2018. Blasting off with some wonderful UFO reports, intriguing ones. This UFO report occurred in Alamogordo, New Mexico. This is a UFO blast from the past. This happened February 28th, 1977. In brief, the witness states, object flew from north to south, then did a U-turn and flew in north radius 35 miles at 1,200 miles per hour. In more detail, the witness states, I was working at the Holloman Air Force Base as a civilian photographer and was told a UFO overflew the White Sands Missile Range. It came from the north down the east side of the range and did a U-turn across the bridge 35 miles wide and then went up the west side of the range. 2 radars tracked the object, one at Holloman Air Force Base and the other at the White Sands Missile Range headquarters to the south. Speed was estimated at 1,200 miles per hour. I was working at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. I am a civilian and asked one of the U.S. Air Force officers, a captain, if he could verify the overflight of a reported UFO. He came back an hour later and said it was true. Overflight was done at 1,200 miles per hour, height unknown, and the object did a U-turn that was 35 miles across. Holloman Air Force Base and White Sands Test Facility radars acquired and traced the object. No known aircraft could accomplish such a tight turn at that speed. The next day, one of my coworkers said 2 school teachers he knew said they were on the east side of the range driving in the Sacramento Mountains and had seen a UFO come over them. The time frame is approximate as it was a long time ago and I'm not sure of the year, but remember the details of the incidents. You probably have this incident in your MUFON files. In my job, I tracked and photographed many rocket launches and recoveries and missiles coming into the range from Utah and never witnessed a UFO incident. I once was driving across the range and picked up what was a mile ahead of me and clearly visible to me. Some few minutes after that, I came to a stop as there was a small missile, 8 or 10 feet times 4 feet, struck upward in the pavement on my side of the road. It had to have landed after the pickup went by and before I came to it. One of the dangers in working on that missile range, air in that region is very dry, and visibility is usually unlimited. Altitude at the missile range is approximately 4,000 feet. I have seen Venus overhead in broad daylight without use of any device, like binoculars or telescope. Okay, and that's it. Once again, I just read these reports. I don't edit it. People write this just as it is. All right, here we go. The next UFO sighting occurred in Orlando, Florida. This happened January 1st, 2018. In brief, the witness states, I saw what looked like a big spotlight circle around and break up into 10 smaller lights which hovered for at least an hour and a half. In more detail, the witness states, my family and I were at Universal Studios Orlando for the New Year's celebration on December 31st, 2017, and left the park and got to our car at approximately 12:30 a.m. on January 1st, 2018. We began driving south to our hotel, approximately 4 miles south of the park, by way of International Drive when we first saw the lights. All three individuals in my car witnessed this. None of the three individuals had taken any drugs, alcohol, excessive sugar, anything that could affect our vision or judgment. At first, we saw what looked like a very large spotlight in the sky, which wasn't too unusual, being that it was New Year's. The spotlight moved very rapidly in a circular motion and split up into various smaller looking spotlights. They seemed to zoom around erratically for a few seconds, then reformed into a larger spotlight. It then broke up again and zoomed around erratically. It reformed into the larger spotlight, then broke up into 10 smaller spotlights and formed a semicircle in the sky, which then remained stationary. We arrived at our hotel and they were still visible. These smaller spotlights then remained stationary in the sky until at least 2 a.m., when I had to, unfortunately, go to bed. They most likely stayed the same the whole night. The only change I really noticed was that over time, the lights somewhat dissipated and became duller, but stayed in the same shape the whole time. I will attach 2 photos I took. I felt incredulous throughout the whole ordeal and kept thinking, is this real life? Are we being attacked in this new year? I didn't feel threatened, though. I almost felt as if they were extraterrestrial. All they wanted was to observe our New Year's celebration or something. It was very strange that not too many other cars or people nearby seemed to even look up or care. The lights were very apparent in the sky. I just hope that someone else in Orlando saw these same lights. Now, I'll tell you, I have read several of these reports off, and they sound like spotlights. They do have these little displays down there in Orlando, and it's sounding like a lot of people did see them, and a lot of people did report it. The next UFO report comes from Hesperia, Michigan. A slight UFO blast from the past. This happened July 4th, 2015. In brief, the witness calls it was like the popped and then moved oddly, and then they went away. Okay. In more detail, they say, we were enjoying the night and talking with our family at my brother's house. I went to watch the stars, and then I saw these orange spheres pop up, and then this thing popped up, and it had all orange light on the side, like it was a big object. When I saw the object, I got scared. I knew these were UFOs because how the smaller ones moved oddly, like I can't describe, and the big one was just hovering. Then the orange ones went where you couldn't see them, but I'm reading it like this because there is absolutely no period in the whole paragraph. Edit, people, come on. Capitalize, edit, I just have to say it. Where you couldn't see them, but then they came back into the smaller ones were gone, and the only one there was the bigger UFO, and then it was gone. Like it just that it got scared and excited, but then all I did was it described was people, few, believe me, I lost sight of the object when they just suddenly disappeared. Okay, I apologize for that one. That was a doozy. Okay, this next report is a UFO sighting in Colorado. This is a UFO blast from the past. This occurred May 6, 2010. Disc-shaped flying saucer. In more detail, the witness states, I don't remember the exact dates, but I had boarded a plane in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was flying into Las Vegas to visit my son. I'm not sure what state we were flying over, but I was about an hour or so before landing. I felt the plane's engine slow down and wondered if the pilot was being notified to slow down to avoid other air traffic. I was looking out the window to see if I would be able to see anything when a typically described UFO flying saucer or silver disc shot across the front of the plane and on the east side of the plane. Wow. I had the window seat and immediately jabbed the poor guy next to me with my elbow and said, "Look!" I wanted a witness. He immediately jabbed the guy next to him, and the three of us sat there with our mouths open. It was a shiny silver disc with no wings and no tail, completely round and saucer shaped. It had a heat wave type shimmer coming from the rear and was going at incredible speed. It was way out of sight in seconds. I knew that this had to be ours, United States, because it had obviously been relayed to the plane to slow down to avoid contact, since you could obviously feel the plane slow down. That's interesting. My primary thoughts at the time was, where are we getting this kind of technology? When we landed in Las Vegas, the pilot was standing at the door. I stopped and asked him what that was that had passed so close to the plane. He mumbled something about turbulence when landing, and I said no. This was about an hour or so ago. He got a funny look on his face and sort of looked at the ceiling and said in a voice that meant just the opposite, I didn't see a thing. I laughed and exited the plane. Oh, wow. I told my son about it that evening, and he said he knew someone from church that everyone sort of knew worked at the new Area 51. Oh, the new one? Okay. Or at least every Monday he gets on a plane and about an hour or so later gets off for work and is flown back home later. My son described what I had seen to his friend, and he kind of smiled, and all he said was, that sounds about right. While watching the Josh Gates episodes about UFOs, the guy on there kept saying there was no technology out there that could duplicate what people were seeing. Well, there is, and we are duplicating it. What I saw was a true flying saucer. I wish I knew what else it could do and where we are getting the technology from. Very smart, very observant person. They were told to slow down, and they knew it was because there might be other traffic in the area. Very, very smart. I dig it, I dig it. And now for an interesting news piece. UFO author Stanley Romanek sentenced to 2 years to halfway house for child pornography possession. If you guys don't know about this story, well, a conclusion has been claimed. And the story begins. Witnesses and defense attorneys painted two starkly different pictures of the same man at Thursday's sentencing hearing for Stanley Tiger Romanek. 4 months after his conviction for possession of child pornography, Romanek was sentenced to 2 years in Larimer County Community Corrections, a halfway house program for criminal offenders. Friends and family of the 55-year-old Loveland UFO author, who says he is an alien abductee, spoke of a man who was selfless and caring and would not hurt anyone. Prosecutors described the lengths of deception and denial he took to avoid a guilty verdict and blame anyone but himself. A 12-member jury found Romanek guilty in August for felony possession of child pornography, but not distribution, ending a more than 3-year-long court case. In addition to the 2 years in community corrections, Judge Susan Blanco sentenced Romanek to 10 years probation as a registered sex offender, no contact with any victims, and individual sessions for mental health treatment. Romanek was taken into custody immediately following the sentencing. His attorney, Ted McClintock, said Romanek plans to appeal the conviction. McClintock told the judge Romanek had spent time in the hospital in the previous day and was feeling unwell because of seizures. But Blanco ruled that Romanek was fit to go through with the sentencing hearing. Defense attorneys called on 9 people who spoke to the judge, including Romanek's wife, Lisa, and her sister, Anne. Deputy District Attorney Joshua Ritter said there's no way to sugarcoat the case and the degree of deception used by Romanek and the defense team to try to place blame on others. He cited their allegations of hacking by a paranormal organization or by the government and explanation that someone else, such as his stepson, place the pornography on the computer.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, the pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Ritter alleged much of the evidence presented was doctored. McClintock argued that no contact order shouldn't apply because Romanek didn't even know the children in the videos found on his computer and has had no prior contact with them, and some of them are probably in their 40s. The treatments and community corrections that Romanek would be subjected to, McClintock contended, would require him to admit to more things than he is convicted of. But Blanco was not convinced, saying regardless of whether the victims' names are known or their current ages, every time those images and videos are watched, they were re-victimized. Those images are incredibly disturbing, and those are real people, Blanco said. When Anne Romanek addressed the court, holding back tears, she said her brother had saved her life and her vision, and in an amazing, courageous, astonishing, caring, good man. She said Stanley Romanek had never shown sexually deviant behavior as a child or an adult, which was echoed by all who spoke in his support. Lisa Romanek said they had been married for 15 years, and he helped raise her 3 children. Fighting back tears, she spoke about the difficulty of Romanek not being able to meet his grandchildren because of the terms of his bond and the effects on their marriage. In quotes, imagine living as a prisoner in your own home with your wife as your prison warden, she said. Others relayed stories about the Romaneks taking them in when they needed a place to stay and how they never worried about their children being around Stanley Romanek. Romanek also spoke and pleaded for leniency, telling the judge he's a good person. All I want to do is help people, he said. He added that he couldn't imagine being away from his wife for a moment. Blanco acknowledged Romanek's and his supporters' statements and said she had no doubt that he had some good in him, but still, considering the materials found on his computer over a period of time, along with the continued denial and deception, there's a good argument for you to go to prison. She reminded Romanek that there is no longer a presumption of his innocence, but she said there may be some hope for rehabilitation and therefore he would be sentenced to community corrections based on recommendations from multiple professionals. And there's your conclusion on that one. That has been a contender for conspiracy for a very long time. Moving on to more paranormal points. Very creepy stories. This one is titled Sid Vicious Haunting the Chelsea Hotel. Among other creepy activities, the Chelsea is the place where Sex Pistols singer Sid Vicious allegedly stabbed his girlfriend Nancy Spungen to death in 1978. He died before police could determine if he was actually the killer. The author of this article states, and while we were there, my cousin, who wasn't familiar with the history of the hotel or Sid Vicious, claims to have had an encounter with the spirit of the English rocker while she was in the shower. Above in this article is a creepy picture of us in our room on the 5th floor. I'd gone out to get us some snacks, and while I was away, she took a shower. She felt immediately uneasy, and later told me that she sensed a strong presence standing behind her while she was washing her hair. She said she heard a man whisper in her ear, "Get out." Ooh, that's an icky, demonic voice. Then she quickly saw the man before he vanished. When I came back, she had barricaded the door closed and was in a panic. Later, when we were walking through the hallways of the Chelsea, we came across a painting of Vicious, and she stopped cold. "That's who I saw," she told me. "He wants us to leave." I then told her the history of the hotel and what happened in room 100 in 1978. According to the website Real Paranormal Experiences, what happened to my cousin is not uncommon. The apparition of Sid Vicious has been seen in the elevator, hopefully opening and closing the doors and operating the buttons, the website reported. Now I don't feel anything sinister at the Chelsea, but I have been obsessed with the hotel since I was 17. I was aware of the history, and being there actually made me feel inspired. Okay. However, my cousin was relieved when we checked out the next morning. Inspired a murder. Okay, whatever. All right, this next paranormal story is entitled The Conjuring. The author writes, "Perhaps you've seen the movie The Conjuring, which details the paranormal experiences of the Perron family after they moved into a farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island in 1970. This story is actually true, and the family has called the movie an accurate depiction of what happened to them during the 10 years there at the hands of a menacing spirit and former resident named Bathsheba Sherman." That's disturbing because that movie was horrifying. During her lifetime in the 1800s, Bathsheba filled the role of housewife while her husband Judson worked as a farmer on their land. Fairly well off, Bathsheba and Judson had a son named Herbert Sherman, born when Bathsheba was approximately 37 years of age in March of 1849. History versus Hollywood reported. It is possible that they had 3 other children as well, all of whom did not survive past the age of 7, though no census records could be found to confirm these reports. While other spirits are said to have haunted the family, Bathsheba was the only one reported to be set on wreaking havoc on the Perron family, particularly the mother, Carolyn, whom Bathsheba allegedly even possessed at one point. While she was alive, Bathsheba was accused of being a witch due to the premature deaths of her other children and the death of another infant in her care, which the video, Edge of Nightfall, shown above in this article, claims was caused by a sewing needle being inserted into the child's brain. Oh, yikes. It's reported that Bathsheba also used a sewing needle to torment Carolyn. And the Perron family aren't the only ones who have experienced supernatural activity while living in this house. Quote, "Everyone who has lived in the house that we know of has experienced this. Some have left screaming and running for their lives," Andrea Perron, author of House of Darkness, House of Light, about her experiences living in the house as a child, told the Teleperusa journal History versus Hollywood reported. Quote, "The man who moved in to begin the restoration on the house when we sold it left screaming, without his car, without his tools, without his clothing. He never went back to the house." Yeah, I did not hear about that. That is wow. Left your car, your clothes. I mean, your clothes even. I mean, I heard of people being scared out of their shoes, but your clothes? Boy, wouldn't you like to get that man's story? And I hear of these stories like and people, so terrified of a haunting, they go running out and leave everything behind. Everything. And it's just frozen in time, all their stuff, everything. And they just leave it. Time and time again, I've heard of that. Absolutely wild. Well, I thought it would be cool to use some more inspiring paranormal stories, keeping this new year going just perky and right. Let's hope this is an angel story. This one is called Invisible Hands. The author writes, years ago, I was out with my two good friends and we were walking around in this big shopping center. Over an hour we hanged around in the perfume section looking for the right smell, so in the end we were quite dazed. Wow, how much did you smell? Coming out of the main entrance right ahead of us was a huge crossroad and all the lights for people were green, but just before the big crossroad there was a little crossing with no lights. I was so dazed that I wanted to walk on the other side because all I saw was green lights, but at that moment, just behind a corner, was a bus coming, driving very fast. It was a split second where I was taking my step, and the next moment I heard bus sirens, and all I felt was strong hands around my shoulders, pulling me back to the pavement. Also, I saw the bus going just inches from my nose, passing very fast. My friends were behind me, but none of them could remember grabbing me. They were stunned, but they had to admit that they stood watching when an angel saved me. Thank you, my guardian angel. Well, that's pretty cool. It's a nice story. The next inspiring story is called Angels from the Air. The author writes, I remembered when I was very little. I don't remember what age, but my mother and I were on the airplane when I looked out. I saw the clouds shaped as Jesus with angels. Wow. The angels looked like they were babies, like Cupid with a diaper, like thing with no shorts. Okay. They looked so young, and in the middle, I saw Jesus with long hair, like I usually see in pictures. I think I only saw his hands, arms, and head. Neck, I don't remember that clearly. I pointed to my mom, and she said it does look like it, but didn't really look that much. I asked her occasionally that if she remembers that day. Sometimes she says yes, sometimes she says no. Sometimes I think I was just dreaming, but somehow I know it was real. That's cool. This next one is called Eight Angels. The author writes, I was in a bad place in my life. I was having terrible problems with my 22-year-old son. I was literally at the end of my rope. One night on my way home, I was alone in the car and I was starting to pray out loud. Dear God, please send someone to help me. Let me see angels as a sign that things would get better. I'm so lost and in such despair. Please send me an angel to help me. Nothing happened. It was about 5 minutes from my home when I received a text message from my best friend. The message read, 8 angels have been sent to help you. That was it. The whole message. Wow. Confused, I called my best friend, asking if she'd sent it to me. She said she received it about 15 minutes prior, around the time I was praying, from her son, who, when questioned, said he never sent it. She saw it and thought to send it to me. After that message, things took an upswing for my son. He is alive and thriving. I know in my heart these angels are with him and me too. Oh, that gave me chills. Well, thank you once again for listening to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Be sure to check out UFOHeadlineNews.com every single day. And also tune into my other weekly show, The Outlander, every Friday, and at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And catch my paranormal comic strip called The Outlanders at theoutlanderscomic.com. To check out absolutely everything I mentioned here, go to HeidiHollis.com or come to InceptionRadioNetwork.com. There's a lot of .coms. And know this, if you've experienced something out of the ordinary and want some level-headed advice, or if you've seen a UFO and want to share, please write me through my main website, HeidiHollis.com, or at dustoutlander@gmail.com. Remember always to keep an open mind so you can stay informed and inspired.